Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Every Man Has a Story. My friend Dennis has stopped by. Haven't seen him in a little while. We pass like once in a while, here and there at the market, or we see each other. We haven't really sat down and
Not
had a
often
chat.
enough. Yeah, it's my first time here. It's
for a while,
beautiful.
yeah. Normally we have our little talks at your house.
Right.
So how's everything been for you lately?
Interesting. Working on a farm up 21 kilometers northwest of Pamplona with Alma, my dear one. We're getting pretty connected.
That's great. So you think you're going to eventually move up there and live there, or?
I'm actually spending more time up there than I am here in Valencia now.
Huh.
We're doing a lot of construction, on building construction, and then her mama and more friends are working on the farm. They're planting more banana trees, coconuts, and they're harvesting peanuts this week and planting those again soon, and a lot of root crops. So I'm eating more cassava, just straight up. They boil it, they peel it, they boil it, and we don't even have sauce. I was like, Alma, you need to have some kind of a chili sauce to go with these, cassava, right? Just boiled. It's like eating a potato with just nothing on it, and that's okay. I mean, I kind of feel like I need to get used to that, because one of the perspectives I have is that what's happening might wind up being that we get pretty back to nature.
So,
yeah. Things might get really interesting.
Well, I don't know. We're kind of isolated out here, though. You really think that it's possible that we could be pushed back to the way things were in the Philippines, say, 100, 200 years ago?
Wow, that's a question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, in a way, I think that could happen. But of course, we have technology. But sometime, what if technology becomes something that we want to not have? What happens if we decide, for some of us, that it's more important to be disconnected from all the technology and just more connected with nature? I know it sounds a little bit out there, right?
Well, where are you going to get all this information about?
Super hippie
that
thing.
You always share with everybody.
Where do I get the information?
I said, what would you do without that? Being able to do that. You love to send. You're always sending videos to everybody and links to everybody. All your friends. You're really big on that. So, what are you going to do if you don't have that?
I don't know. I think I'll just be living my life with the people up there, with the local people, and that's an interesting experience, because Alma and one other person speak English up there. He's a 14-year-old son of a cousin.
So you're learning the language?
Not much, but more.
Yeah.
Right. It's not an easy language. So but that's kind of the track that I'm. It's a conservative track. It's the one saying, well, if things get really rough, what can we do now to prepare for that?
So are you a bit of a survivalist?
I think some people call survivalists those guys that carry guns, and they take from the preppers who have stored food and materials. So I'm more of a prepper.
Well, you can't be a survivalist here with the guns, because we're not allowed to have them. We're not allowed to have a knife.
Is that right?
Yeah. You can't even have honey knife, pocket knife.
Now local people, they can have
whatever they want, but we can't have a knife.
Right.
Yeah, if you went to the market with a knife on your side, say a honey knife, they could arrest you or take it away from you. I thought you knew that. You've been here longer than me.
I don't wear knives, but up in the mountains, they wear bolos, which are like a sword.
Yeah, they're. Yeah, the Filipinos do, but not us.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen a policeman up there. Haven't seen one. So the people, and that's interesting too, because no one wears a mask.
I was going to ask you that.
Right? We can get into that. And the people are healthy. I mean, I'm not saying it's COVID, anti-COVID. I'm not at this point, but the people are fundamentally, I think they just have a great immune system, and I don't know how they get the nutrients, but they're eating natural, organic. I haven't seen any fertilizer being sold either, and I'm sure that's being sold in the markets, and they do buy it sometimes, but I haven't seen it, and we don't use fertilizer, so it's organic.
Why aren't they growing oranges here? I think oranges would be a good crop,
I guess it's not cold enough.
Cold enough for oranges?
Yeah, because I'm from Fresno, California, and it freezes 10 days a year there.
Yeah, but in Florida, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So it has to be cold enough for citrus, I think.
Huh. Never heard that.
Sometimes, not a lot of cold, because that can kill a frost can damage a crop. but it has to be a hard frost. So, and I think that somebody told me that there's a lot of foods that can't not grow in whether it's the tropics or the soils that are here, or a combination. So I don't know why.
It's very rocky here, that's for sure. You dig down, all you hit is rocks.
Yeah, a lot of, and up where we're at, it's a lot of clay, and it's consolidated, like really hard, like hard pan.
Yeah.
And you know, that's from ash. So it's volcanic, but the topsoil's been pretty eroded over the last 40 years, I understand, up where we're at, from cultivation and rains.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of it. We hiked up to the Japanese shrine the other day, and you can see in the strata of the rock that there's it's just rock, and the ash, and then a little bit of topsoil on top of it.
Right, a little bit of topsoil.
And nobody seems to know when the last time the volcano blew here,
Oh my God, that's a whole nother subject. Have we talked about the axis of the Earth rotating?
No. You think it's rotating?
Yeah.
Well,
there's like proof of it. And
Well,
I don't mean a little bit.
Are you
I don't
talking
mean
about
like
the wobble of the
No,
Earth,
I'm
right?
not talking about that. I'm talking about what happens apparently about every 700,000 years. That's some news I've come up with that I've had the opportunity to get
Are
information
you talking
about.
about the poles flipping?
Not the magnetic North Pole.
No, I'm talking about the whole Earth flipping.
The actual Earth changing axis of rotation. And I don't mean like that.
Yeah.
I mean like maybe like that. There's this video called Bizarre Behavior of Rotating Objects. You can look it up on YouTube.
Oh, is that the one in space? They've got like a nut
Yep.
and then it flips. Yeah, I've seen that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I posted that
Yeah.
and maybe shared it with you.
Yeah, I've seen that before though.
And then there's Inuits now, Mark, that have been saying for the last whatever couple of years
Yeah.
that they know for a fact that the sun is rising in a different location on the same calendar day than it used to be historically for their ancestors. So
Well, that makes sense because the sun itself is flying through space and the planets are flying through space and everything is moving. So it would make sense that over so many thousands of years it would change. Like the Sphinx used to be, I think, lined up with one of the constellations. I can't remember which one it was, like a clock. And since then, over thousands of years, it's moved and
Right.
it's pointing in a different direction.
now what I'm talking about is that something that's really changing quickly. And that is if you go on Google and go magnetic North Pole and go images,
Yeah.
there's these pictures of the location of the magnetic North Pole, on a overlaid on a map, right? And starting in 1510, the location of the magnetic North Pole was recorded.
Right.
And then for the next 300 or 400 years, it just sort of meandered around at about the rate
I've heard this, yeah.
of about 5 miles per year.
Yeah. And now it's moved quite a bit.
Starting in 1900, it started moving in a straight line, which it wasn't doing before. And it's been in a straight line since, so 120 years now, straight line. And its distance that's moving is accelerating. And so in the last 20 years, it's moved as far as it moved in the previous 70 or 80 years. And it's moving now at about 35 to 40 miles per year.
It's a lot. So the North Pole is not where the North Pole was.
So the geographic North Pole is probably not where it is today. The old geographic North Pole, so the pole, the axis of rotation is actually moving. Not just the magnetic North Pole, which some people attribute to these blobs underneath Siberia and Canada having magnetic effects. I don't think that's the case. And when you think about climate change, that axis of rotation change, any axis, significant axis of rotation change, makes a big difference. Now, some people make the story fit, or they can see that from their point of view, it fits the flood theory, the flood story that many cultures have. That when this thing flips, you've seen the video of it happens pretty quickly, and then it's stable again.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think for the flood, though, that's pretty much been proven that there was an asteroid that hit the Earth and hit in the Mexican Yucatan,
melted
the ice sheets, and that's what caused the flood.
Could well be.
Yeah.
So that if this axis of rotation, now that's something that the viewers might, if they have some spare time, take a look at, because there's some interesting things. People that so one of the comments on one of these videos about the Inuits said that there was somebody like in New York or something. They have a fence, and they said, "Oh yeah, like I've noticed that like on June 1st or whatever the day was, that I used to have a shadow." off that fence. So I would plant certain things. But now there's no shadow on June 1st. So it's changing enough for people to notice these days. Anyway, that's another little subject that you might be interested in checking out. You saw it on Mark's channel.
I've also heard from the locals here
Yeah?
that they're saying the rainy season is lasting longer
Right.
than normal. I was I've only been
Climate
here.
change is real, but I don't think it's
2
attributed to CO2.
No, I don't either. I mean, well, I think it's a lot of things, not any one thing. I think it's volcanic activity, solar activity, pollution, everything. It's a whole,
I'll go with that.
hodgepodge of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I think climate change is definitely, we know that's real because
Right.
at one time where the pyramids are, it was lush and green and lots of
Right.
water.
And I mean,
now it's a
10,000 years
desert.
ago, we had this little ice age, right?
Yeah.
That's not so long ago. Right?
Well, I think it was 10,000 years ago in Kentucky where some of my family lives, there was a mile of ice.
What?
Yeah, 1 mile of ice, you can look it up.
No, wait.
A mile of ice, above where Kentucky is. Well, matter of fact, most of the northern hemisphere of America, a full mile of ice. And that just melted suddenly, and that's probably what caused the,
Right, it
the
would.
flood that's talked about in history.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense. A lot of sense.
yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's interesting. So, what do you think about what's going on now in America?
Wow.
How long has it been since you've been back there, by the way?
4 years.
4 years? I haven't been back
Yeah.
in almost 2.
Yeah.
Are you planning on going back at all to visit family? Or?
May never go back.
No?
For a couple of reasons. My family's pretty shattered.
Yeah.
But I think I just read today that the U.S. is, whatever it is, the CDC is saying that you have to have a proof of immunity or not infected or whatever in order to fly into the States. And I'm of the conviction that I'm not going to get tested. I'm not going to get vaccinated.
You're not testing anybody. I've never seen anybody offering a test in the Philippines.
Around here?
Yeah, I haven't.
I haven't either.
No.
I mean, if you
I
go to
read
the
today about
airport,
the vaccine that they've got. They're saying maybe they'll start like next month sometime, but it probably won't be here. It'll probably be in Manila.
somebody told me that Duterte made a statement that because China wants $60, this is what he heard, per vaccination, and Pfizer and Moderna want less than 20, that Duterte said, no, we're going to wait for Pfizer and Moderna to have stock for us.
Yeah.
And that may take years. That's for what it's worth. I don't know anything about it.
Well, I know he said that he wasn't going to open the schools back up until there was a vaccine.
That's interesting.
And he's kept to his word on that.
Okay, so let's get to some
But can you imagine Philippines, though, 40s?
Do you think this makes sense? Does any of this make sense? This whole COVID story, does it make... No, according to the media,
Yeah.
because that perspective, let's look at it from the media's point of view.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really dangerous. We can't be traveling. We need all... Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. It does for you. Because
Yeah,
you talked to
because-
doctors and you found that
Yeah.
it's really dangerous.
I mean, when I was doing my tutor, I talked to a lot of doctors and scientists, and they still had the lines on their face from wearing their masks all day in the hospital. And
Right.
The intensive care unit was full. The ICU were full. California right now, they're full everywhere. They've got, in many cities, they've got freezers. What do you call them? The semi-truck,
Okay.
freezer
Okay.
holding the bodies.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I've learned in the last month or so that bacterial pneumonia killed more people in the Spanish flu event than the flu.
That's true. I read a whole book on the Spanish flu. It was like this thick, like 15, 20 years ago.
I don't know this for...
Most people died of pneumonia, not from the flu.
What
Which is
caused
a side effect.
What caused the pneumonia?
Well, here, I'll tell you something. I read
You know
this.
where I'm going with this.
Yeah, but I'll tell you
I'm
something
listening.
you probably don't know.
I'm listening.
The reason, what happened back then, aspirin was a new drug. And so the doctors, they thought that would be the miracle drug. So they started prescribing aspirin to all the flu patients in
Okay.
all these hospitals and stuff.
Okay.
And they were giving them something like 5,000 milligrams every 4 hours. And you're supposed to take a maximum of like 3 aspirins, which is like 100, 200 milligrams, whatever.
Right.
And one of the side effects of overdosing an aspirin is fluid in the lungs, which is that's what pneumonia
Right.
is.
Right. I didn't
And
know
so
that.
they're saying that they accidentally killed a whole lot of people with
Right.
Bayer aspirin.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons they got pneumonia. But yeah, you're right. Most people died of pneumonia, which is a side effect of both the flu, and a lot of other diseases.
Have you heard about wearing a mask causing bacterial pneumonia?
Well, if you wear the same mask over and over, it's going to build up with bacteria, and
Right.
you could pick up all kinds of stuff.
Right.
They're not recommending that. They're recommending that you change your mask
Right.
every day.
Right. And this is going to be a
Yeah.
repeat because some people that are watching this may not have heard this, may not have seen the past. I'll make it brief. So on a flight from Bali to Manila 2 years ago, before COVID, the guy I was sitting with, we talked to the mask subject just popped up. This is before COVID, and he said he never wears a mask. He said he's a Korean medical doctor, and I said, why don't you wear a mask? And he said, I never wear a mask in public. I said, why not? He said, because it's dangerous. I said, why is it dangerous? He said, because of what you said. Bacteria builds up, you rebreathe it, you get sick. I talked to 2 nurses in California since COVID started, and they said that it's recommended to not wear a mask more than 30 minutes and then before you discard it. So when I see people, I just wanted to share this, when I see so many people now in Dumaguete or the cities that I travel through on the way to the farm, so many people are wearing masks all day that on their motorcycle they're wearing masks, right?
Yeah, I got pulled over the other day because I was on my motorcycle and didn't have a mask
Did you
on.
get a ticket?
No, I had it in my pocket.
I didn't have mine in my pocket. They gave me a ticket.
Yeah, how much was the ticket?
500.
500 pesos, which is $10.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I tend to lean with the doctors and scientists and say the masks work. I hate wearing them though.
We differ on that, and that's fine.
I hate wearing them. It's
you can feel it.
I can't breathe. It fogs up my glasses, and I think if you're wearing these people that are wearing the cloth masks, you buy outside of Hypermart and stuff that are, some seamstress made it up out of whatever fabric.
Right.
I believe that it's like putting dirty socks on your face, and so that can't be good for you. And then all of that, but you're probably breathing in particles of the material that's in there too. So I don't think that the homemade masks are definitely not a good thing in my opinion.
Right.
But we're so lucky here that there are no cases really in the hospitals here on our island.
That's true.
And very, very few people have it. But
even with
Yeah.
I would think that there'd be this bacterial pneumonia thing, at least from what the doctor told me. But that's not even happening.
Well, I think these Filipinos have a really high
I'll give that a 2 thumbs up. Immune system?
Immune system, yeah. And the reason is, you've seen how they live. And so, they're growing up, with dirt floors and things like that, working outside.
Right.
Unable to wash their hands, whenever they go someplace.
Unable
because there's no soap and there's no water.
Right.
And so,
and you know how they wash their back sides.
Yeah, we all know about that. Yeah.
And that's how I do it now too.
Yeah. But anyway, so they probably, have been exposed to so much bacteria and germs and stuff, whatever, throughout their life, that they've got a really robust immune system. And plus, the average Filipino is only 25. And so they're young and healthy and strong. And so if the virus did come through here, which I believe it did last year, because I told you I had it, my friend Paul had it, all the symptoms, everything, for almost 2 months.
And what month was that when you had it?
It was like November of 2019.
Of 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
I got it, see? Yeah. And you had it for 7 weeks?
At least 7 weeks, yeah. Sweating through my sheets at night, conjunctivitis in the eyes, dry cough with nothing coming up. It just would not go away, and nothing worked on it. And Paul was the same way. His girlfriend was even sicker. And a lot of the expat community that I knew of were sick.
Yeah.
And, I believe that's what happens with it. So I think that now, if you went and tested all these people around here, which they haven't done, you'd probably find most of them are asymptomatic or they've got the antibodies that they already had it.
Probably.
But we'll see what happens, but I think that we're just lucky that we're here.
So do you think that the actions that so many countries have taken is appropriate?
Well, in Sweden, for example, my friend Roger was my next door neighbor for several months. And I just talked to him in Sweden 2 weeks ago. And they had the whole thing, we just leave everything the way it is, no masks, no
if you feel
social
sick,
distancing.
stay home, the normal stuff.
Do whatever you want. And except for they tried to protect the older people in senior citizens homes, retirement communities, but everybody else, they kind of went about their daily things the same.
Right.
And it hasn't worked out. A lot of people are getting sick. Their numbers are triple what Norway and Finland's are as far as deaths.
You mean now or?
Now. Yeah, it's just it just totally did not work. And they were so certain they were going to get herd immunity and everything. And
okay.
Herd immunity is supposed to happen at 30%. If people have been infected, they're finding out that's not working.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I'll go with, I'll just assume that it's correct.
Yeah.
Given this, do you think that the response, this travel ban thing, the reaction is appropriate? Does it make sense?
I think it's too late to do any of that. I think it's if they would when they had like 2 or 3 cases here and there, like in America, when there's just a couple of cases, they knew there was one guy in California, one guy I believe in Washington State. If they would have done it right then, shut everything down, mask the whole thing, kind of like what China did, that would have worked. But it's too late now. It's
That's
like it's already here. You're fighting an invisible enemy.
Right.
And these new strains that are coming out are supposed to be, 10, 20% more contagious, and so it's just spreading faster and faster. So I think there's nothing they can really do now to stop it. I think it's going to be with us forever. The Spanish flu is still here. It never went away. It's still here. It just eventually, I guess enough people got antibodies against it where it wasn't spreading, had no place to go, but it never went away. It's still here. The flu that we've got that comes every year, the DNA is basically the Spanish flu, from what I understand.
All right.
So it hasn't gone away. We're going to have this COVID thing. It's just going to be here. We'll be living with it forever. Remember when they told us that AIDS was going to kill everybody?
Right.
Back in the 80s?
Yeah.
It killed a lot of people, but now nobody talks about AIDS anymore.
Right. Or tuberculosis.
Well, tuberculosis kills people here in the Philippines.
Still does, a lot.
It kills more people, I think, than COVID does.
Quite a few more. Right.
Because they don't vaccinate for it.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's like we were talking before we started filming. Whatever your point of view is on COVID, politics, you can find an articulate, intelligent person that'll support your point of view, especially online or on TV.
And the algorithms are going to feed you those, right?
They are. And so you're going to say, like, there's a guy that's with the Trump administration. It's like supports Trump. He's got a PhD from Harvard, super smart guy, but I don't believe a word he says. But other people think, this guy's so smart. And it's the same thing on the other side. There's people who are
pretty fascinating,
who are Republicans, and they can follow that guy and everything that he says and say, he's right because he makes total sense.
Total sense.
And then the same people that are against, the Democrats have the same thing. So,
should we bounce into was the vote stolen?
No.
Subject.
The Republicans are saying that's been thrown out of, 60 court cases at least, and they've all been, the judges thrown out.
About that.
Where's the proof? They have zero proof. They talk about the voting machines and
Italy
people voting more than once, and China or the Venezuela, whatever it is.
So, do you think that there's a program to splinter the people in the state so much that they will create a civil war soon?
Well, that I think is a much more plausible hypothesis than this whole thing about the election was stolen. I think that
I'm with you on this.
I think if you're a very smart enemy and you want to attack America, divide and conquer. Sun Tzu, divide and conquer. So I think that's maybe what's happened. That they're fueling it however they are by things on Facebook, things on the internet, where trying to get two guys with different points of view.
Right. Pump them up.
And they're not even like, it's one thing like if you're a Democrat and somebody's a Republican, you can, like, I don't agree with you on what you say about health care.
You used to be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't agree with you on talk about, Vietnam or whatever.
Right.
But now it's like people hate each other.
That's what I've heard.
They
cannot talk.
Families are splitting up, and I've got it in my family. I mean,
what's up with that?
I've got a sister and 2 brothers who have totally different political views than I do.
Right.
And but we work around. We just don't talk about it.
Right.
But in some families, it's causing rifts, even divorces. Look, I'm surprised Kellyanne Conway and her husband haven't split up. I mean, he hates Trump, and she's working for him. But so I guess you can work it out.
Well, I mean,
but I think you could have a point there, like the Russians or
that's
whoever.
How it feels.
Yeah.
And it looks like you said, if that's what you want to do, if it's your goal is to conquer, a nation, that's the way to do it.
But like the vaccines, it's like whatever you want to believe. You want to believe that this actually works and vaccine's good for you. You can find plenty of people, highly educated doctors, scientists, who will tell you and they get the shot themselves, and they'll tell you that it's all good. Then you'll find other people like Catherine Austin Fitz, who I followed for a long time on Coast to Coast. She's into finances and everything, and she believes it's all a great big
The
plot.
older lady?
Yeah, she believes it all a big
Yeah, I
plot.
listened to her.
Yeah, and so, and she was I watched like an hour video of her, and it's
Yeah.
very convincing what she had to say. But I don't know, I just don't buy it myself. I don't buy that. So just think about how many people would have to be involved with all these different vaccines to make them so that it changes your RNA and gets turned on by 5G and does all this stuff to you. I mean, you have to have so many people involved. You think one of them would come forward and say, look, there's an evil plot, run for your life.
Now, let's address just what you said just now.
Yeah.
So it looks like what's being made available on the media, whether it's social media or MSM,
Yeah.
is highly controlled. So if someone wants to come forward, how do they do it with?
On the internet.
Well, you need to be on the dark web to have it not censored,
No, I don't know. I mean,
from what I've heard.
I don't think so.
That's
You can walk in front of a TV camera and say whatever you want and somebody would cover it. But
You
I
don't think the internet is highly censored?
But I'm going back to the thing of getting all these people involved. It's like the people that say we didn't go to the moon. You know, you got to watch some documentaries about the moon. Like thousands and thousands of people were involved in that whole project, all these different levels,
Well,
all
there's
these
a
different
hierarchy,
jobs.
right?
Yeah, but all these things were done. You know, and
So you think we went to the-
everybody? Oh, for sure, everybody would have to be involved.
We differ. It's cool.
Yeah, everybody would have to be involved. Like thousands of people would have to be involved and keep their mouth shut for the last 50 years if we didn't go to the moon. And also,
Okay.
also about the moon, if you don't believe we went to the moon.
Let's go to the moon.
Let's go. There's the Chinese and the Russians
Right.
have spacecraft orbiting the moon,
Right.
taking high-profile pictures,
Right.
right? And they can see where we landed. All the stuff is still there. They can actually see that with, like, spy satellites. They can see all that stuff. And if we hadn't gone there, they would have embarrassed us a long time before that.
I've wondered about that.
And said, you know, we got proof. Here's
I've
high
wondered-
definition photos of
I hear you.
the place
It's a
where
good-
they
it's a
landed, you
good
know,
point.
and there's nothing there.
Well-
and now there's a bill I think in Congress they're trying to put through to preserve the footprints of Neil Armstrong because they're still there, and they preserve it to say that you can't destroy them. It's like a heritage site. They made it into a heritage site on the moon, and also there's so many moon rocks that have been shipped to universities all over the world, given to them, and also these other companies are like China's going to go there. Jeff Bezos is going to go there.
I'm so
Elon
glad we
Musk is-
differ. I'm so glad we differ on this.
it's going to
actually.
go. All these people are going to go there. You know, all these people are going to go there. These different companies
Okay.
and countries, and
Yeah.
they're going to see that it's all there. They
Yeah.
they put a
Well,
reflector
okay.
on the moon
Yeah.
with the very first mission, and they shoot a laser beam from the Earth to that reflector back and forth to measure the distance and do
Right.
other kinds of
Right.
experiments. It's
Right.
still there, and we still use it. You know, so plus I told you I spent 2 weeks with Buzz Aldrin. You know, yeah, I stage managed him. He used to lecture on cruise ships, and I spent 2 weeks with the guy.
So you got a chance to
Yeah, I
check
talked.
out his authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of very interesting things to say. You know, and we'd have dinner. Just like you and I sit down, we have drinks together, we have dinner together.
Does he talk about UFOs?
Yeah, he did. And he says they're real. He said he's seen, you know, UFOs many times, but he didn't see anything on the moon.
Right.
You know, but he's definitely.
So what do you think about UFOs?
Oh, for sure, I believe in it. I think they're real.
And you think, okay,
I don't know what they are, but they're real. They could be from the ocean. There could be a whole society living under the ocean.
I've been reading a few
Yeah,
things.
something like that.
Something like that.
They could be us from the future coming to the past in a time machine. It could be us.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, who
That's
knows
true.
what it could be.
That's right.
You know, and but they're real. Like I remember like last year when the Air Force released that video of the fighter jet chasing a UFO. You
I didn't see that, no.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
It was on CNN
I don't watch CNN. I
No.
don't have a television.
or whatever. It's on your phone.
That's why I'm stupid. Right?
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's a fighter jet chasing a UFO, and then they're filming the whole thing and talking about it. And the ship the aircraft carrier that's involved, they're talking about it, and the whole chatter as they're filming it, what it is, and it happened like 8 years ago or something like
Right.
that. But they finally released it, you know, to the public, and then you had.
How do you feel about this?
It's exciting. And then just recently, like a few weeks ago, the head of the Israeli Space Division, whatever his title is in Israel,
Right.
came forward and said, I have to, before I die, I want everybody to know that we've been in contact with other civilizations, and we have a contract with them, and this whole thing about aliens. And the same thing happened in Canada. Like I forget what his title was, but he came out and said the same thing about UFOs, that they're real. We've actually had contact with them. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's definitely real. I mean, mathematically,
well, there's that.
If you just look at the planets and universes, somewhere I read where there's many galaxies, not planets, but galaxies. There's more galaxies than all the grains of sand and all the beaches of the entire Earth. That's how many galaxies there are that we know of. And so just mathematically, there's got to be almost anything you can imagine they're out there.
Well,
just mathematically. And each one of those galaxies has millions of stars and
Right.
millions of suns. So
Right.
it's all in the math. And if you believe the universe is infinite, which now physicists, which I believe this all along, that the universe is infinite, that didn't have a beginning, didn't have an end,
I've
goes
been reading,
goes
thinking about
infinitely in
that.
all directions.
Right.
And if
I mean,
it's-
how do you even, right?
Yeah,
conceive,
how to wrap your
right?
mind around that.
Well, right.
So if it's infinite,
you need an infinite mind to do.
So if it's infinite, then that means anything is possible. There's somewhere there's a planet where Santa Claus is real.
Everything is probable at that point.
Yeah, nothing is impossible because
And because we have these five senses, we kind of talked about this, right? We're very limited.
very limited. It's like, I forget what the percentage of it. It's very, very tiny of what we see, of what's actually there. We're seeing like 3 or 4%. Same with smells. We see, 3 or 4% hearing compared to say
Right.
what we see and say an insect sees or an owl sees is a tiny, tiny percentage. And like the senses of like a bear or a dog, as far as smelling,
Right.
scent,
Right.
tiny percentage. So we're missing 99% of what's out there.
And you
with our
couple that
senses.
with our
With our brains.
chimpanzee brain,
Yeah. So who knows?
right?
But yeah.
So AI. So I saw a video, Elon Musk said a few weeks ago that he is now projecting that singularity, that's where AI becomes smarter than all the people on the earth combined, that's this definition, will happen in 2025. Some people think that it's already happened.
Could be. I mean, he's a smart guy. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
But he could be part of the whole thing with this whole Neuralink thing that he's got going, where he wants to put a chip in your head, in your brain.
Or the wires, right?
Yeah, well,
whatever systems.
Yeah,
right?
I saw a whole video on it. It's pretty fascinating. First, he says that they'll be able to cure paralysis or blindness.
They always use health as the reason why they're going to go forward. And then I watched a video about autonomous weaponry, right? And how there's no regulation globally. And so because there's no regulation, these governments or powers that be are in a race to develop weapons that are autonomous, right? Robots.
Well, even if there was a law, I guess they do it anyway.
Right. Well, there's that.
Same with us. Like there's biological warfare, chemical warfare. We've got all that stuff.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
What a ride, Mark.
Yeah. So I think that. Hopefully they don't ever use it, but
yeah,
we don't know. And talking about back to aliens real quick, we assume like with all the movies and stuff you watch that they're, basically either look like us or look like a giant insect or whatever. But what if they're microscopic? What if they're microscopic?
I never considered
and they're a million years advanced than us, more advanced than us, and they're microscopic.
Whoa.
And they could be here doing whatever they want. They could be in your brain and doing whatever, and you would never even know it. We assume this spaceship's going to land, and they're in there.
Man, you're stretching me again. I love it.
But like there's these little microscopic things. They're called, starts with a T, tagamios or I never can remember
super
the name
small, and
but
they can live in space,
yeah,
right?
they're immortal. Basically, like you can boil them in water and they'll live. You can put them in outer space, they can live. They found them on the outside of the space station, and so if there's a life form that's advanced millions and millions of years, comes from that, like we came
They just
from.
learn from how to live, right?
Yeah, they could be.
Take on that form.
They could be totally indestructible, basically. We'd have to destroy, if we destroyed the Earth, they'd still be here.
I have a friend who thinks that the joke is that we think we're so important.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so arrogant.
How arrogant can we get? You know?
Arrogant, yeah.
I think we just keep stretching that.
I mean, ants are way more successful than we are. And crocodiles and sharks, you know, they've been around for a couple 100 million years. We've been around for one. You know, and 1 million years is a long time. And they've been around for 200 million years, and here we are, you know, 1 million years. Oh, we're the greatest. We rule the earth.
You got it, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. We agree on a lot of stuff. We're going to get so many comments from these guys out there. They're
going to say,
two crazy old men.
Remember? And oh my God. And they're going to say something like, yeah, crazy old man. And you're probably going to be polite.
Yeah.
As you were before.
Well,
say, yeah, we went off the deep end. And I was like, Mark.
Well, they've got their phones out Googling things and correcting us on exactly the years and names of stuff.
But your channel's valuable because you do just say what you think.
Yeah, and so do my guests, you know. So, but yeah. So what else you want to talk about? You said you're not going to get the vaccine, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm going to get it. But
right.
And I'm not even going to research whether it's good, bad, working.
Tell me about it. I want to hear your perspective.
The only reason I'm going to get it because I'll be able to go to America, visit my daughters.
Right.
And, you know, if you got to have a thing to prove that you've been vaccinated. No, because working on cruise ships, I've had dozens and dozens of vaccinations over my life. I used to got a flu shot every year. I got the pneumonia vaccine. I got the shingles vaccine. And I've never had a problem with any of it. And so if it's 65 years old, there's going to be a vaccine that's going to kill me eventually. I'm not going to worry about it, you know.
Right. To be able to go visit your daughters is
because they're in England, and they'll be coming to America, and we can meet somewhere and spend like a month or so.
Have they thought about coming here?
I don't want to bring them here. There's my oldest daughter, you know, she's autistic, and there's really nothing to do here that she'd want to do, and foods and stuff like that. I could never get the food she wants. So, and she wants to see America, see her grandmother. So, you know, we go there.
America's great.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
but you could never see yourself living there again, right? In America?
It'd have to really change, because the Philippines, I've found such solace and grace.
I just don't have stress here. We talked about this once before. It's like, I remember in America when I was there, of course I had problems and stuff that were happening to me, but I used to just feel stress all the time. Like the mail came, I'd stress.
You didn't even know you were in stress until you got here.
Yeah, and now it's like, right. I don't have any stress. Nobody calls me on my phone trying to sell me stuff.
Right.
There's no like junk mail. You know, it's just.
And you don't have the energy of the people around that are stressed.
Right.
Beating you up. Even
also, it's like, you know.
Just in terms of their presence.
There's no anger here. Like, you know. If you're
come on, elaborate.
Well, like when you're riding your motorbike.
You guys need to listen.
You accidentally cut somebody off, or you accidentally pull out in front of somebody. They got to slam on their brakes. Nobody's shouting at you or like.
Are you
ready
sure
to shoot
what you're talking about? You know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, but I mean, to me, that hasn't happened.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, and I've just because it's like people like in the intersection, they all come together. We talked about this once before too, and they just kind of work its way out and. There's no traffic jams because everybody, like, if I can go in front of the truck, I go, and the truck driver doesn't care if I go in front of him, you know? There's no, like, it's your turn now, it's your turn now, it's your turn. It's like, let's just all fucking figure it out. And we just all kind of go and...
Remember the word we used?
Yeah, psyche.
Telepathy.
Telepathy, yeah. I believe that's true.
I believe it's true also.
And I think it's because when your mind is not cluttered with other things, it opens up and you're more sensitive to those feelings and that energy. And it's when you're driving your motorcycle, it's a perfect example. It's like this guy is there, and you don't know, is he going to come out? Is he going to turn left? Is he going to turn right? And you just kind of know what's going to happen before it does, and it keeps you from crashing into it.
You don't even know that you know it.
You don't even know that you know. Yeah, exactly.
You experienced this.
And there's other things too, like you just kind of know what's going to happen. Sometimes I know what's going to happen with little things, you know. I just know.
Yep.
And
it's another.
But
I wouldn't lose this.
It's a good way. Yeah.
I wouldn't lose this for. Yeah. Right. I mean, this is worth more. This is pretty valuable.
It is. Yeah.
This peace and ability to connect with people, and connect. How about the yes sir? How about the respect you see in, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they really treat old people nicer. Like you go to Jollibee, for example, or even McDonald's, and they see you're a senior citizen, which we obviously are, and they say, "Oh, sir, over here." They push you in line where there's nobody there, and take care of you, and I don't know.
all the time.
Yeah, and they're respectful to older people here. I find that, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're respectful to a lot of,
Everybody, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not, it's not just us.
Yeah.
But they do